Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There may be strong language and adult themes. Although, is there really any theme that's more adult than war?
Not really.
Yeah, today is Ukraine Independence Day, which they are fighting very hard right now to preserve. Even though the American media has lost interest in the story, it is still going on. Etsy, and in the side chat, I saw Commander 401, and we have Skitscrasher and Greg Hartwick.
It's just us today, so if anyone wants to jump in, I guess.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I can't say that I've got a whole lot to say about Ukraine. I've been rather occupied with more personal things, and I haven't been paying a lot of attention to the news.
Yeah, I haven't heard too much about Ukraine lately myself.
I hear bits and pieces of it, although a lot of that's just kind of coming through because, bleed over from tangentially involved with some historical stuff and that, so mostly what I hear about is when they're deploying new equipment, when they've got some new types of tanks or rocket launcher or something.
Yeah. We think of all the money we've put towards them. I mean,
Yeah, I really don't understand the UN's position in the matter, why they're not willing to get more involved, but politics I understand very little of. Hey, Kitty.
Hello.
No.
Well, I ended up having to do grocery shopping today. That's always fun.
Yeah, if I didn't have this in the middle of the day, I probably would have gone out earlier because I wound up being awake at obscene hours. But I was afraid that I wasn't going to get back in time.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I took a little nap earlier. I wasn't sure if I was going to even get up in time for this.
Yeah. We have started a GoFundMe to get us a car.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, Gigi asked me about being on a fundraising stream for it, so...
Yeah, Godless Granny is going to be doing a stream on Tuesday that she's just going to do an open mic thing with me and Kitty for the fundraiser. Oh, hey, Lisa. Greg Hartwick has already made a very generous donation for the car fund, as did Godless Granny, and there's another person in there whose name I don't recognize, so whoever it is that I have failed to thank, Beck set up the GoFundMe, and still working out how I'm supposed to get access to it so I could actually thank everybody directly through that. But yeah, just running into a little bit of snags with that, so we'll get that straightened out shortly, probably later tonight.
Oh, I just put the link in the chat there for everybody.
Okay, thank you. I was just about to do that myself.
Yeah, he probably did it because he knew that you're, a stubborn bitch and you wouldn't do it yourself.
Yeah, you're saying
I
you're
was
talking.
definitely hesitating it, yes.
So you're talking about it. I don't see any links in the chat, so I'll do it myself.
But yeah, no. I know I don't really have funds to contribute, but I can definitely be on a stream. Like the car repairs, that hurt. After it was the AC repair and then the car repair, like back to back. So
Oh,
we're okay, but
Yeah.
I just don't have the extra to give right
No, and
now.
I know that most of the people in my groups are in about the same financial state I am, so I don't want anybody to, hurt themselves for it.
yeah, a bit strapped for cash right now myself.
Yeah. So, basically figuring that we're gonna run.
Uh oh, lost you.
Okay, so it wasn't just me that she cut out for.
Okay, well,
Oh, I was muted there. I'm
there
sorry,
you are.
Kitty. I didn't quite catch what you said there.
No, I was, wondering if it like when Mage was like, "Up, we lost it." I was like, "Oh, so it wasn't just me. I thought my sound cut out because you were talking, and then like mid sentence it went quiet, and I'm like, did something wrong?" Then I heard Mage. I'm like, "No, it's not my headset. Maybe it was her." Okay, yeah, I was just making sure.
Yeah, no, I had a problem there with my mute button.
Ah. Okay, as you were saying, if you remember where you picked up, where you left
Well,
off.
I'm not quite sure where I dropped out, but
Uh,
yeah, that's Slothgurl had her first appointment yesterday with the cancer doctor to start setting up things for her chemo.
yeah, chemo definitely does suck.
Yeah, the good part of it is they actually are fast tracking her. So she's actually going to be starting chemo treatments next week.
I guess
Good.
that's good. I guess.
Well, I mean, chemo sucks and it's rough on your body, but the alternative is cancer growing out of control and dying. So,
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
she's
very
already
true.
at stage 4, which pretty much means that, yeah, they can buy her more time. They're not
yeah.
going to, they're not going to be able to cure it. It's just a matter of how much time we can buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, when was she diagnosed?
It's, still less than a month ago that the first thing came back positive.
And
The
like she
first
had no
biopsy they did
symptoms or
came back,
anything?
well, the first biopsy they did came back negative.
Okay.
And they said that she should have the scans done every 3 months. So then after they did the scan, it showed some new growths that they hadn't seen in the first scan. So they did a biopsy on one of those, and that came back positive.
Oof.
So yeah, it
It's
was
just
growing
odd to
pretty
go.
fast to have shown up that fast.
Yeah, and it's just odd to go from like 0 to stage 4. Because, I mean, with her other health concerns, she gets checkups pretty regularly. So, like, I mean, that must be a very, very aggressive cancer for it to go from 0 to 4, like with someone, who
Yeah,
does go to the doctor regularly.
Oh.
she gave me the name of it, and I can't remember the exact name, but it's a rather rare strain that is something like 6 in a million people.
Yeah, my aunt had this really rare aggressive strain of cancer, and she died within about a month after being diagnosed.
That was my grandmother. She had brain cancer when I was a kid. She was diagnosed Thanksgiving and died the day after Christmas. It was so fast. Like it gave the family whiplash. Like some
Okay, there
cancers.
it is. It's leiomyosarcoma. I still can't pronounce it properly.
Leiomyosarcoma.
Yeah.
What you said.
Yeah, no, oof. That's crazy. And like it's not like, you know, she doesn't go to the doctor again. Like she's got MS. Like she has to go to the doctor pretty regularly, you know, for medications and such for that. Like for them to not have noticed anything or caught anything with, you know, blood work, you know, or any scans or any imaging or anything that, you know, she might be going through. Like that just boggles my mind that it could go that far that fast without them catching it. Like, yeesh. Scary. Because it could happen to anyone.
Yeah. So. Yeah, once the snow starts flying, it's going to be a lot harder for us to, you know, I've managed through the summer without a car okay, but it'll get a lot harder in the snow and the cold.
Yeah. And I mean, like, she won't be able to handle the cold while having chemo.
Slothgurl? Oh, there you go.
Hey, there's
Okay.
a slothy girly in the chat.
Hey.
But we are not hearing you. Do you maybe have the mute on your mic?
It's possible. Or maybe the audio input's not right.
Hello.
Oh, I heard
Okay,
something.
there we
There we
go.
go.
Now
are.
we've got a voice. We had a voice for a moment anyway.
The tech
Hello.
gremlins. There we
Hello.
are.
Hey.
Hey, Sloth Girl.
I'm here.
Alright.
Yep. So, didn't know if you wanted to say anything more about your
Well, that's why I
appointment
came in because
yesterday.
it's easier for me to get in on this than to hear it secondhand.
Yeah.
Kitty, I was actually diagnosed.
You were actually diagnosed. And you heard
Um,
TV in the background.
I went into menopause when I was about 52. Then when I moved here, I started postmenopausal bleeding.
Yep.
So after that, it was just getting worse and worse and worse. So I went to a gynecologist who said, "This isn't normal."
Yeah.
And then they did some tests, they did some scrapings. We tried putting in Mirena twice to get it to stop. Then we tried to get damn it.
For those who don't know, Mirena is a hormonal IUD that it can stop bleeding, and you know it's a type of birth control, an implanted birth control.
Yep. Yeah, except when they tried to do sloth girls, it didn't stay in place.
Well, it fell out the second time, so I lost both of them within a month.
I think I know what's wrong. She doesn't have the stream muted, so she's hearing her voice
Yeah.
talking back to her, and that's it's hard to talk when you hear your
Oh.
voice with the delay talking back to you.
Yeah,
How
are
can
you
I fix that?
Just mute the YouTube stream.
Yeah, just go to the tab and mute the YouTube. So you should be able to
I'll
just
mute
hear it
this
through
way,
the
but then I
StreamYard.
can't hear you talking at all.
But
Yeesh.
you should be able to hear us
You should be
talking in
hearing us through the
StreamYards.
StreamYard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't need to hear us through the stream.
I'm still getting a delay though.
Then it must still be coming through the stream and not StreamYards, because there's a delay to YouTube, but there's
Yeah.
not a delay within the StreamYards itself.
Oh,
Purple,
Maybe
why
this
don't you
is
go up
better.
and
Yeah.
I mean, if we can't get it sorted out, then maybe you can go and help her out, because it can be frustrating trying to talk if you hear your voice coming
Right.
back to you. It
Yeah.
will
Yeah, no,
short
I
circuit your
know.
brain.
Is this better? Start talking again.
I will
Okay.
try
Well, you
talking.
sound
Can you hear
fine.
us?
Yeah, you sound
Okay,
better, and
now
I'm
I'm
not
not
hearing
getting
the echo.
Now I'm not getting echo back.
Okay, there we
Okay,
go.
good.
I
We
figured
fixed
it
Yeah.
it.
out.
All
Hello,
right,
Yep.
Stella.
perfect. See,
And
there we
we've got
go.
Jeff here.
All
Hello.
right, so go ahead.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah, there's always like a 2-second delay between StreamYards and YouTube, so that delay can get to be irritating.
Well, they've actually done like studies, like there was a headset you could put on and it would basically play back what you were saying on like a 1-second delay, and people stopped being able to actually speak because it just it short circuits your brain, and you lose the ability to actually speak properly, like unless you can really tune out the sound of your own voice. It's really difficult. So I just thought that was fascinating. And when I heard her stuttering and then I heard my voice in the background, I was like, I know what the problem is. We can fix
Yeah,
this.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to mute YouTube.
Yep.
So now it's working.
Okay.
I don't even like watching streams or videos of myself back after they've been on or recorded, let alone hear it back in real time. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the problems I have with doing edited videos, is just having to listen to my own voice, especially when I have to listen to the same chunk over and over several times to get the cuts right.
Yeah, I've been running into that problem.
admittedly, if I record a video or something, I might listen to it back once before uploading it or something, and if I'm not happy, go back. But generally, once it's uploaded or something, I don't want to really hear. I don't really want to listen to myself.
Yeah. I listened to it 5 times already. You putting it together. I don't need to listen to it again.
So anyways, Kitty, you were asking why this wasn't diagnosed sooner. Like I said, I was fine. The postmenopausal bleeding started. So we tried to fix it. We tried to do a hysterectomy the first time, but because he just wanted to do it with the camera without a big open incision, it didn't work because I had too much scar tissue. So in March, they went in with a cesarean cut, removed everything. They found the leiomyosarcoma in the uterus, but they said they thought they got everything. Apparently, they didn't, because now it is metastasized into my right lung.
Oof. Yeah.
And now that it's metastasized far, which means far from the original site that it started in, the survival rate over 5 years is not very good. It's 14%.
13%. I'm looking at it right now.
13. I heard 13, 14, or 15.
Yeah, it's probably just a guess. I mean, it probably depends on from person to person.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a law of averages. What they do is how many people have it, and then how many people lived,
For the
versus
5
how many
years.
people died. So it is a law of averages. So
Right. And with the chemo, I had a choice of going the easy way or going the hard way. I opted to go the hard way because I'm going to kick this in the ass.
hell yeah.
Yep.
Fucking badass bitch. Yes.
I mean,
do that.
if cancer's not going to be nice to me, I'm not going to be nice to it.
Exactly. Like I remember my mother had cancer, and like my mom and I were not in the best of places. Like we were better after I had moved out, but like we have had our issues. It's gotten a lot better since her cancer, mostly because I was the one that was there at her bedside watching movies with her in the hospital more than, anyone else. So it's like even though we didn't have a good relationship, I still was there for her. And I think that registered for her in a way where she's not as miserable. Like she's still miserable at times, but she's gotten a lot better. But she went in to the doctor with a urinary tract infection, which, it happens. Like women,
Right.
are more likely to get them. And so they gave her antibiotics and sent her home. And then like it was getting worse and she was on antibiotics and it wasn't getting better. So, it got so bad. She was just like, oh, I'll just fight it. But then it got so bad, she was brought to the emergency room. And they're like, oh, yeah, you still have, a UTI. Here are stronger antibiotics. Go home and rest. And it still didn't go better. And then she said, she thought she saw what looked like fecal matter in her urine. And like, so she went back to the ER and they're like, that's not possible. That doesn't happen. And, they were going to give her just more antibiotics and send her home. And my dad put his foot down and he was like, no, you are doing a CT scan of her abdomen and we're going to figure out what's going on because this is not normal. She's gone through 3 courses of antibiotics and it's not getting better. She had colon cancer and it had developed a fistula connecting part of her colon to her
Ooh.
bladder. So she
Huh.
really was getting fecal matter in her bladder, which that's how you get an infection is you get like an E. coli bacteria. That's the most common cause
Yeah.
of a UTI is E. coli bacteria just getting up into your urinary tract. And so they're like, okay, yeah, we need to deal with this. And she ended up having like, 2/3 of her bladder removed along with, a few feet of her large intestine. And she had 2 types of chemo. One was a high pet chemo, which is it's a heated intra intraperitoneal like something. I forget the entire, but they basically take a hot chemo liquid and they fill your abdomen with it and then slosh you around a bit. Like that, like that's basically what it is. So they did that. And then they gave her, chemo through a port. And then she continued with chemo pills because the port one, she started spiking really high fevers and she had a bad reaction to it. And when they switched her to the pills, my sister went to CVS to go, or Walgreens, one of them, to pick it up. And they're like, okay, that'll be, 24, and it's like, okay, and then it's like, no, 24,000 for 2 weeks of chemo treatment. And it's like, excuse me, what? Guess I'll die then. And luckily my mom's doctor, they actually had like a patient advocate that found like programs to help, so she didn't end up having to pay for the medicine because we just couldn't afford it. My mom has been disabled since I was a kid from a workplace accident, so she just didn't have, like, she doesn't have that kind of money. And my dad was in a bad motorcycle accident. Both my parents are disabled, so they don't really have a lot of money. And yeah, it was okay, guess I die then. But fortunately, if you have, someone to advocate for you or even advocate for yourself, there are programs out there to help with the cost of these things. They because they're so expensive, they have to have grants or discount programs, etc. And you just kind of need to know where to look. And good doctors' offices will have somebody there that will make those phone calls for you to help you because you've already got enough on your mind. You're fighting off cancer. You don't need to be worried about how you're going to pay for it.
It's
Yeah,
such
and that's
bullshit that we even need that kind of stuff.
It is absolute bullshit. Yes.
and that's like in my training that's coming up. You meet with the doctor, you meet with the training team, and you meet with a social worker so that if you need anything, they can get things started. Like I need a PCA eventually because I don't want to put all the work on Purple. So I've called the county, and it could take up to a month for us for you to hear back from us. So my doctor says, or the nurse for my doctor says, talk to the social worker, and maybe she can kick their butts.
Yeah, let's be realistic here for a minute. It's not a matter of whether or not you want to put it on me. It's some weeks I can barely hold myself together.
Yeah, that too.
And it's a lot, I mean, not saying that this is the case or anything, and I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad, but when it comes down to it, like, people who are carers for people dealing with chronic illness or terminal illness, they can get PTSD from it. In fact,
Oh,
people
yeah.
think PTSD, combat veterans. Actually, combat veterans are like less than 5% of PTSD patients. The majority of people that have PTSD, it is from non-combat related things, abusive, partners, domestic violence, sexual assault, taking care of, a family member who is sick or dying or disabled. Like, it causes, it can, I should say, not, it doesn't always, but it can cause trauma to the person, and people
Yeah.
don't actually think about that. And my heart goes out to anyone willing to help take care of somebody who is sick or disabled. And I very strongly advocate that we should do like what they do in Australia and have a carer's pension, where if you are caring for someone who is disabled, you basically, get paid money to help take care of that person.
Well,
Yeah,
I could do that with Purple.
We have
But-
something similar in the UK, but it's quite disgusting, actually. I think how little carers are given, actually. But I'll just say this, Kitty. I really want to come back on that point you just made. You are absolutely right. You guys know what I do for a living, right?
No.
That I'm.
No.
Okay. For those who don't know, I'm a postal worker.
Oh, that's right.
And I can tell you, I know postal workers, and some of the worst cases of PTSD I've ever seen are postal workers from dog attacks.
I mean,
Well,
there's a
the
phrase going postal
didn't
for a
come from
reason.
nowhere.
Well, I've been
Yeah.
through this thing. I mean, my mom had diabetes, so she'd also often go into diabetic reactions, and sometimes she'd even almost go into comas. So I would quite often get up in the middle of the night and just check on her and make sure she didn't fall into a coma or sleep. And after she died, I was with my girlfriend, and I noticed I was doing that with my girlfriend, and I didn't even realize I was doing it until afterwards. Like, what the hell am I doing?
No, I mean, trauma leaves its mark. I have had quite a bit of experience with trauma in my life in many different ways, and no amount of talking about it or therapy or time is going to erase it. I mean, you can get to a point where you can function mostly normally, and I do, but there are still things like triggers where, something will happen, turn a phrase that my ex used to use that would not matter to anybody, but to me, I start getting the cold sweats and my adrenaline starts pumping, my heart starts racing. Or, I mean, last I knew, my ex was living in a completely different state, but I'm at the grocery store and I see, or I'm at Walmart and I see somebody, a few aisles away from behind that looks like it might be him. And I fucking duck and cover in the clothing rack, and just like curl up into a ball and just like try to breathe,
Yeah.
it's not often that those things happen, but they do happen. And I don't think it's ever going to not happen. Even if I knew confirmed that he was no longer alive, it's not a rational reaction. It is lizard brain. It is primal. It is
Yeah.
something you cannot control.
It's completely subconscious.
Well, it's been so ingrained into you that you just can't stop.
Yeah, we basically you're running on automatic thinking, sort of like how you would drive a car. You don't really think about, oh, I have to press the brake, do all the stuff. You just do that automatically as you since you've been doing it so long. It's the same
Right, and
sort of reaction.
I was in an emotionally abusive relationship for like 6 years. And even to this day, I apologized to Purple and he didn't do anything. But I still have to apologize because I felt like I did something wrong.
Yeah,
Well,
that is something I notice I do a lot where I apologize a lot to like my partner, you know, and they're like, you know, you didn't do anything wrong. There's no need to apologize. It's like, I'm sorry I inconvenienced you because like yesterday he helped me. I'm looking for something for my sister at Marshall's. There's only one Marshall's location where she lives, but there's like 25 of them within a 25-mile radius of where I am. So I was going to a couple different Marshalls, and like every one we went to, I'm like, I really appreciate doing this. I'm so sorry, you know, that, you know, they didn't have it, that we have to go to the next one. He's like, it's fine. Like, I agreed to do this. We're doing this for your sister. She's good to us and our kid. Like, you know, it's okay. You know, you don't need to apologize. But I still just apologize a lot, you know?
Yep.
I apologize. It's weird. I apologize when I shouldn't, but then I have trouble apologizing sometimes when I should. Like
Yeah.
where I'll really like dig my heels in and I can be very stubborn where it's like, no, I'm not wrong about this, you know, or I might be a little bit like bitchy and I don't want to apologize because I do still suffer from that little bit of pride that everybody does. But then in situations where I shouldn't be apologizing, like I can't stop. It's like just word vomit apologies.
Yeah, I know.
Since
I
we're on the
think-
subject, I should mention that the first week of September is always when I bottom out. And I didn't figure this out until I was in my 40s. But even though I'm 58 and even though I have identified what it is, I'm still reacting to the massive anxiety I went through every year with the new school year starting.
Ah, I have a
So,
lot
yeah,
of.
the first week of September, I always tend to get real quiet for a week or two.
I always have trouble. I have trouble with dealing with being from school as well. I still have nightmares being back in school.
And gee, I wonder when.
I hated
Well, and
school with a passion.
on top of that, now it's kind of a mixed bag because also with my late fiance, for her, going back to school was a great thing. It was something she got excited about because school was the only place she felt safe. So,
Yes.
you know, I was able to kind of balance it out while I was with her because silly things, new school supplies would make her really happy, like a new pack of highlighters.
It's weird feeling.
So now it's kind of like I see that stuff in the store and I start to get happy, and then I realize she's gone too, and then it all just kind of falls down again.
Yeah, it's strange for me. I feel that I've been out of school longer than I've been in school at this point. It doesn't feel like it to me.
Again, trauma never goes away. You can develop healthy coping mechanisms or unhealthy ones for that matter, but it doesn't go away. And like its impact or at least frequency of, you know, attacks can lessen over time, but it's always going to be there. And you could go months or years without having, you know, a
Yeah.
trigger, and then something happens, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're right back in the situation that,
Yeah.
you know, caused you this trauma. And, you know, I think that we need to, as a society, talk about it more and, you know, try to remove some of the stigma because uh, everybody deals with trauma. Like trauma is a part of life, and you know, but it's a sliding scale of varying degrees, and some people can handle a lot more trauma before they break than others, you know. And it very much is very individual and unique to the person, but that doesn't change the fact that the overarching thing of we all have trauma, and some people, their trauma manifests emotionally and physically for them, and just accept that and talk about it so there's no stigma, because
Yeah.
it's not your fault that you have trauma. It's not.
It doesn't happen quite as much now, but for like the first few years, I'd be like, you know, I'm walking someplace on my road, and a school bus would drive by. I would just get really anxious and I'd just freeze up.
Hmm.
Just
Sorry.
It's funny, like I dealt with some pretty horrific bullying when I was in school, but I don't have like trauma from school. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because it was kind of overwritten with much more severe stuff, in high school and beyond. Because in high school, like I didn't have any problems like with bullying or anything. And if it was minor stuff where it's like, someone would call me fat or something when I was not fat. So it was like whatever, like um minor shit, that I could just brush off. But like in elementary school, it was getting invited to sleepovers just so that they could fuck with me in my sleep, or having one of my things taken and put at the back of the classroom so that when I go to reach for it, it was on a rat trap that permanently damaged my pinky finger. Or getting physically like beaten. So yeah, like it was pretty horrific shit in elementary and middle school, but come high school, I just kind of took a I don't give a fuck about anyone pill. And, I found fellow oddballs, and hanging out with the goths and the scene kids and the stoners, and those were my people. And like everybody looked out for each other and it was cool. Like my high school experience really wasn't bad. I had some trauma that happened with SA when I was in high school, but that wasn't because of the high school. That was just around the time that it happened. High school itself was actually pretty pleasant for me comparatively.
well,
And then the marriage after high school just kind of overwrote most all the other trauma, I think.
yeah, I've mentioned this before. Is my girlfriend from high school died of cancer, and that happened just before I graduated. So that's probably a big part of it.
Yeah.
But I think this is good. I think it's important for people, if they feel comfortable, to talk about and share their traumas, and we really do need to work to better destigmatize it and allow people
Yeah.
to not only feel seen and know that they're not alone, that no matter what their trauma, other people, can see and understand that,
Yeah, I try and use my trauma to empathize with others, or show people, yeah, I know what you're going through. This is what I've been through. So yeah, I can relate, and I
Yeah.
hope that helps other people.
Well, that's one of the things I appreciate about this community is that, people have generally been very open about things like that. And we have a lot of streams of people talking about things like that. I've gone through most of my life always knowing that something was wrong with me and not knowing what it was. And it's like, yeah, finally figuring most of it out.
Oh yeah, that would really suck to have to go for so long. I remember when before I was diagnosed with the anxiety, I couldn't figure out what the hell was wrong with me.
Yeah. Yeah, and even though I've been in and out of therapy for actually over 40 years now, it's like there always seems to be some things that they've missed.
Yeah, Kitty, one
Well,
of the advantages to the chemo is I'm going to lose all my hair. So at least Purple and I can learn to do our eyebrows together.
There you go.
there we go. Gotta look for those silver linings and
Yeah.
toss in a little gallows humor. Like
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
yeah.
That's where it's at.
Well, you should creep some people out and just paint eyes on the back of your head.
I like that. I wish microblading wasn't so expensive. I'd just get them tattooed on.
Yeah, like honestly, it really sucks, and I just hope that, you have insurance and that it will cover
Oh, I have
your treatment.
very good insurance.
That's
So
good.
so far, they're not giving me a hassle about anything.
That's good. Like that's my biggest concern with anyone here in America that is diagnosed with something like chronic or serious is, do they have good insurance, because that really is the main determining factor, regardless of how much you want to fight. The main determining factor of survival is your insurance. Like that's
Yeah.
first and foremost.
And
The more
believe it or
people
not,
I
we're on.
talk to across the country, the more convinced I am that maybe apart from California, Minnesota's got some of the best medical of anywhere in the country.
Because I'm disabled. I'm on medical assistance through the county, and they're still covering everything. I don't even have co-pays for my prescriptions.
That's really
your,
good.
Your area is like the third best in the country, if I remember
I had
correctly.
both of the needle biopsies I had were $5,000 each. I didn't pay a dime.
That's good.
Well, and even after her surgery, how many nights were you in the hospital there?
Oh yeah, I was in
3 or 4
surgery,
nights?
3 or 4 nights. I got nothing, no bills.
That's
And
good.
and through the hospital system, because I went through the U of M, they actually put purple up in one of their I don't know how you put, not a care home, but a
Yeah,
place for
that was actually a separate thing. That was through a charity group that
right,
they had. Yeah,
lodgings.
yeah, they
That's amazing.
basically they had taken over a small hotel by the hospital that was just for people whose partners or whoever family members were undergoing surgery.
That's awesome. Like we
Because
need
for-
more of that.
Because for him to drive back and forth would have been 2 hours, an hour each way to come visit me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
And
with
because
being
of
in an emotional
COVID,
state, that much driving, I would have been so totally exhausted. I probably would have run into something.
Yeah, she
And
might have.
and because of COVID, Purple was the only one that could visit because you could only have one visitor.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's like, your emergency contact anyway, right?
She's
Yeah.
my ride or die.
Yeah, there we go. Best bitches for life.
Yep.
Sorry, guys. I was away for like a couple of seconds, even if I was listening in. So
No worries. We're
No,
just
I-
chatting.
I was. I've been sending DMs back and forth. Should we say strike committee kind of DMs? So
Hi, Doc.
Yeah, Harmonica Man
Right.
says that he's losing everything just due to copays. It's just, our whole country's
Fucked.
handling, our handling of people who have extended medical issues.
What
I
you making,
mean,
kitty?
some masks for my sister.
Ah, that's right.
Hey, Doc.
Well,
I
no,
started
like,
making chemo hats for me.
oh, that's
for-
awesome.
They're like scrub caps,
Mm-hmm.
but you make them with just 2 fat quarters. That's awesome.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Oh yeah.
It's always. I mean, it's always a bit of when I'm in streams and I listen to you guys in the United States, like talking about like the issues you have with like getting medical care. I mean, as part of me, obviously, is obviously thankful for the healthcare system we've got, but at the same time, kind of realizing we've kind of still got to fight to keep the system we've got as well.
Yeah.
Well, don't you know that the American system is the greatest in the world? Everybody else is just doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I've heard the
But
NHS isn't that great either.
Only if you can do the medical or the wallet biopsy. Like if your wallet biopsy comes back okay, then yes, you can get the best healthcare in the world in the US. However, if that wallet biopsy comes in a little lacking, nah, you're shit out of luck.
I mean, I don't know who has the best system now. But for years and years, it was always Cuba.
Yeah, the developed world, US comes in last in healthcare. Or I think with UK just above it.
Yeah, but in the US, it matters so much what state you live in. Because the differences between Minnesota and if we were like in Alabama or Mississippi, it would be a completely different story.
I made that joke because I just had this argument with somebody not that long ago. So
Well, I know I've shared this story before, but like when my son was born, he was a planned C-section. And like we knew that I had to have the C-section because the trauma of childbirth would have really fucked me up. And so, we went in for the C-section the day that it was scheduled. And then he came out and he wasn't oxygenating properly and he needed to go to the NICU, but they didn't have the facilities at that hospital to keep him alive. So he had to be transferred to the children's hospital. And so I didn't get to hold my baby until he was a week old. Because I spent 4 days recovering in the hospital from the C-section, and then he had an umbilical line, and in an incubator, and I had insurance, and it was supposed to be covered, but the insurance basically said, "Oh, well, it's a separate stay because he had to be emergency rushed to another hospital, so you're gonna have to pay for that, $150,000 to keep my child alive."
Yeah, and
Shit.
well, everybody has that just laying around their bank account.
Oh
People
yeah.
don't have
Yeah.
400 laying in their bank account. I think my bank account has like $5 and change in it right now. Like, I think, I checked it earlier this morning. I think I got $5.33 in my bank account right now.
And Kitty, like you were saying before, that caregivers should get a stipend. Well, they do here. If you go through the county, you can get your caregiver paid. But the problem with that is Purple. If she gets any income, then it comes out of her Social Security.
yeah,
So I
they'll
can't
reduce the
have.
social-
Yeah, I can't have Purple get paid to do care for me.
yeah, I'm on a disability, and the only reason I can get by is because I qualify for the housing subsidy. But if I were to get something like, it's like an extra $120 a month would completely disqualify me from the housing subsidy, which
it's
then would effectively mean that my rent would triple.
Yeah, it's another problem. Like with me, if I were to make 2,000 in a year, they'd kick me off of disability. And if I
Yep.
happen to have 2,000 or more in my bank account, they won't even give me a check for the month.
Yep.
Until it's under that. That's such bullshit.
Yeah, well, and they wonder why people don't get off the system.
You can't.
They make it impossible to get off. Yeah, if you get it all ahead, they're going to take it away somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, that's like every year with Social Security disability, we get a COLA increase. We get average 5% increase.
The only way off is to already be making enough to live off of, which you really
Yeah.
can't build anything up to get to that point.
Well,
Yeah, so like
yeah,
I say,
you've got to
I'll get
go
it-
from nothing to being able to make enough to live on in less than 3 months,
Yeah.
or you're screwed.
Yeah, they give
Like
you
I
like
say,
a 3-month trial period.
I'll get an extra $15 every year from Social Security, but then they take $10 off my food stamps, and my rent goes up $10. So I'm still in the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do they expect you to get ahead?
They don't. That's the point. They don't give a shit about
Exactly.
poor people, and they expect,
they
disabled
gripe about
people
us.
to live in abject poverty because they want them to just die off.
But they gripe about us being on the system and gaming the system.
That's honestly just
Right.
because, people are, at least conservative people tend to be very selfish. And
It's
they
actually
don't.
kind of like jealousy.
Yeah, it's like, well, why are they getting money for nothing? It's like, well,
Yeah.
walk a mile in their shoes, deal with their fucking chronic pain and
Hey, I'll
inability to
gladly
work.
give you my cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would fucking like if I could, give my condition to somebody else. Like I actually have I say I wouldn't wish this on anyone, but I've got 2 enemies that if I had the power to transfer it from me to them, I'd really strongly consider it. you know, but
That's
yeah.
our superpower.
Mm.
No, and so it's like, yeah, if I could, you know, work and, you know, go out and like earn money to sustain myself, like I would absolutely do that. I miss going to work and socializing with, you know, the coworkers I liked and, you know, like
And talking about the ones you didn't.
yeah, that's true. Like it happens in every workplace, you know.
Oh yeah.
Well, this is one of those things. I mean, you know, I mean, sort of really hate it when, you know, you get all this sort of narrative about, you know, people being work shy and lazy or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's really not the case. I mean, look, work is a very much a human need as much as anything else. I mean, look, you know, if humans didn't work, you know, society would function. It's a, you know, and generally it's one of those things. I mean, I don't want to get into it in any great detail, but I think there's a lot to be said for Marx's theory of alienation with work. You know, so work about, you know, how it is that we become so alienated for something that is actually a human need, and something that really should be, you know, it's something that actually should be quite rewarding, not just financially, but, you know, to us as people, and, you know, for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's something that should be very rewarding, and I think where we're exploited so goddamn much, it's not.
Like, sure, are there some people out there who, if they had all their bills paid and didn't have to work, they'd just sit around and do nothing? Yeah, there are, but that's a minority. I mean, because like even me, like I can't work, and yet I push myself and I deal with, you know, pain because of it by like pushing myself to actually make things because I need that sense of, you know, satisfaction that it's like, oh, I've completed this project, or oh, I've done this, I've done that, you know.
I am totally with you,
yeah.
Kitty.
And so it's like I end up pushing myself more to like do my hobbies, or to like even just cleaning up around the house like is a lot for me
Yeah.
and can fucking fuck me up. And I have an 8-year-old autistic child that is like a fucking tornado wrapped in a tropical storm.
So, I'd say anyone who says you don't work doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about, Kitty. So if they're, you know, so
if it means people are taken care of and able to do the things they want to do, you know, be able to get into work, and actually kind of, you know, are getting money. It means that there's a minority of people who are just going to sit on the rest and do nothing. I'll take that trade off.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I am a socialist. I am a libertarian socialist. I believe the government has a responsibility to take care of its citizens. I believe there should be a baseline below which you cannot fall, meaning, you know, food, housing, you know, all the necessities that you need to just sustain basic life, you know, and that includes, you know, a cell phone and internet, in my view, because those are necessities in this day and age.
Back in my day, we used to call them anarchists until Chomsky got popular. That's just a joke, but yeah.
Yeah, but no. So I mean, all the things that are needed, you know, we can tear down some of these defunct shopping malls and build apartment complexes. Like there's plenty of space, and there's already plenty of houses. We could give every homeless person their own house, and there'd still be leftover houses.
We can
Turn
give
the
them, like,
shopping
12
centers
houses.
into homeless housing.
Not even just homeless housing, just apartment buildings.
Yeah, but don't tear the buildings down. Just refit them. Because the buildings are already there.
Repurpose them for something useful. Yeah.
Yeah, you could actually turn an old shopping mall into an entire community. You've got an atrium, you've got like food courts and stuff that you could still have there. And, you know, everybody, like, you can turn all the shops into little apartments, and you could do some renovations maybe, you know, but yeah,
because
like
everyone would have to have a bathroom.
Yeah, you
exactly.
have to do a little bit of renovation.
I mean, you would have to do some renovations to put kitchens and bathrooms in them, but you know, yeah, like you repurpose the building.
But the price of tearing it down and rebuilding something new versus refitting something that's already there, the cost is just astronomical difference.
Yeah, a lot
And
different.
I mean, I believe that, everybody should be given, income. Like I believe in a universal basic income. I believe that, housing should be afforded to those whether you can afford it or not. I believe there should be rent control and, housing pricing control. And I believe that
Definitely.
Wall Street should not be able to go buy the small single family starter homes and refuse to sell them because they want to rent them out to a permanent underclass of renters that will never own property. Because the number one way that wealth is generated, generational wealth in the United States, the number one way it's generated is through property ownership. It is,
Yep.
and that was one way that they were able to keep people of color down and subsidize white people after World War II. The GI Bill and the housing assistance things that they did where, veterans were given, good rates on mortgages and essentially given, their plot of land and a house kind of thing. But
40 acres and a
black
mule.
GIs were kept from that. The black and
Yeah.
brown people were
Yeah.
not allowed. And then you would have redlining where they, even if they could get the program, nobody would sell them a house unless it was in a red district. And then they'd be like, oh, sorry, we're not going to mortgage to that district.
Yeah,
It
that banks
deliberately
would
kept
not.
wealth out of their hands.
Yeah,
Mm.
banks would not offer financing to people in
I mean,
certain zip codes.
I mean, it was always. I mean, I said it. I mean, it was always that inequality. I mean, the very moment they allowed black people to serve in the United States Army, there was inequality because black soldiers were paid $3 less a month than white soldiers when they first allowed black regiments during the Civil War. And at $3 a month might not sound a lot now, but the wage for a white soldier was $13 a month, and it was $10 a month for a black
Yeah.
soldier. That was quite a bit of money.
Dog, you're in hospital now?
Yeah, I've been here for a couple of weeks now. I'll be here a while longer.
Oh
What's
no.
going on?
Right.
I've
Hey,
got a
Keith.
thing called
Okay, mate.
Cauda equina syndrome. It's basically a spinal injury. It's left me paralyzed,
Oh
shit.
no.
partially paralyzed, which is possibly forever. Also, I'm incontinent now as well, both ends. I shouldn't smile about it. It's a lot to take in, but obviously I've been incontinent before with stroke and that. But for it to be permanent is a bit daunting. There's no light at the end of the
Yeah.
tunnel. But I'm good. I'm cool. I'm cracking on. As you do.
Man, if you can keep in good spirits through that, mate, hats off to you.
I have to, mate.
Yeah.
There's
you
a
gotta
keep
reason they call
smiling.
it gallows humor, okay? Like when you're faced with something horrific or traumatizing, sometimes you can either cry about it or get upset or laugh. And like laughter can be very cathartic. So laughing at a bad situation is actually incredibly healthy.
Yeah, laugh in its face.
Sometimes you just
And
have
to
to
be
laugh
fair,
at the
Kitty, I
absurd.
do have these people in this ward. Listen to my bullshit. Obviously it's a spinal injury ward. But it's the way it is. You can't cry over it. You got to crack on. But what you're talking about there, I've heard a lot of this because with housing and that, there's a lot of people they've here. I've had to try and change where they live because they may live upstairs or something, and then they can't get upstairs anymore. They can't get to a first floor flat or apartment and things like that.
Yeah.
And here in the UK, it's different because the needs are sort of met, and the strings are pulled for these people to get where they are. It's a weird way of doing it, but with social housing concerned, there's not that much greed. And when the councils allow development of new property builds, or these developers who say we're going to build 50 houses here, they legally have to give 20% of the properties to the council for social housing.
Yeah,
Which
because
is-
you
That's a
call
good
it
idea.
council housing, right? For
Yeah,
people
that's
that
right.
have subsidized housing.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not just council housing; it's social housing. We've
Okay.
got a lot of social housing groups, the council are sort of selling that sort of side of the land ownership and building ownership off. And it comes under different groups that, but it all works under one big umbrella at the end of the day. If you understand that. But in America, yeah, it's all to do with the greed, isn't it? It's to do with the
money for
money
before
side of
people.
things. And, well, you can't take it with you, can you? I don't know why
No.
they accumulate all this money. When
Well-
if someone is regularly paying rent, and all of a sudden they've lost that rent control side of things, and now they've got, they're paying what's demanded, and obviously they're trying to look for bigger tenants, but they do it inevitably, price themselves out of the market. You can't have middle class, rich people in your homes all the time. It is not going to happen.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, people are willing to take shittier jobs for less pay. People are willing to take shittier jobs for less pay when they're worried about whether they're going to have a roof over their head. So when you have renters and the rent keeps going up, then you have people that are less likely to strike or organize to try to get better wages because they're worried that they'll get kicked out of their housing and end up homeless. There are people that are homeless that are still working 40 hours a week.
Sure. Well, I am going to work on a video on how to make a mobility guard for people in wheelchairs or can't really stand for very long. It'll be all made in a way that even if somebody was in a wheelchair, they'll be able to, or can't lift things very well, they'll still be able to put this thing together. So it might be something that might be interesting to watch. I don't know when I'm gonna get it out because I'm still trying to get all the pieces together here, but
yeah, well, and that is
useful.
another way that we're more fortunate here, that the building we're in is handicap accessible, and it's like the place we lived in Michigan, they said was handicap accessible, but while it made it to the letter of the code, people in a wheelchair or even just people with a walker had a hard time navigating that one. This one's a lot better.
Well, that's good.
They've got ramps. The public corridors have handrails down the entire length of the corridors. And Slothgurl's on the second floor, but there's 2 elevators.
Speaking of handrails.
All the public buildings in the UK basically all have ramps now. Anyway, I don't know whether that works in America as well.
Well, they're all supposed to, but sometimes the way they're implemented, they're not actually functional.
It's very steep.
Yeah, it's difficult for some of the older buildings. Absolutely.
Yeah, unless you have somebody to push you up the damn thing, you're not getting up it.
Well, so some people can't help being disabled. Obviously, I didn't ask for this. It just after.
And that's another nice thing with our building is when people pass away here, the family members will usually leave like their mobility aids and things. Like there's actually a transfer wheelchair. So if I can't make it up the stairs, Purple can come up, grab the mobility wheelchair, and wheel me back up to my apartment.
Yeah, like when she was coming home from her surgery, there's a wheelchair in the storage room upstairs.
Dog, do you have anybody to help you out once you get out of the hospital?
Oh yeah, I've got all that. I've got a good network of people.
Okay.
Obviously, I may need to go up to Sheffield. Jeff, I know Sheffield.
Dog, I've never been there actually. Never been to Sheffield in my life.
Yeah, but I may have to go there for 3 months. I don't want to go there for 3 minutes, man. It took me 25 years to get from up north to somewhere decent to live. Yeah, now I'll probably have to go to Sheffield. But this is brought on just by positioning after stroke and that. Just
So is Sheffield like the New Jersey of England?
Pittsburgh would be a good. Actually, would be a
No,
good.
we're jealous of New Jersey of England.
Southampton, no. I'd say Pittsburgh would be a good comparison because Sheffield was known as for like its steelworks and stuff for a long time. That was a big part of the steel industry was Sheffield.
Well, the reason why I say it is like, I don't know if you ever watched the episode of Futurama where Fry's trying to find an apartment. And he was like, this apartment seems amazing. It seems perfect. What's the catch? Well, we are technically in the state of New Jersey. And then he's like, damn, not one single livable place. So, like, it's just a running gag that, New Jersey is just terrible.
I'll tell you, I don't know if you've seen it, kid. You'll see a good film that's set in the city of Sheffield. There was a film that came out in the 90s with Robert Carlyle and that called The Full Monty.
You can keep your head on.
Yeah. But that was set, obviously, that they were all a bunch of steel workers and stuff that had been laid off and decided to try and make a living as male strippers. It was quite funny comedy.
I love that
Yeah, I
movie.
saw
I'm
that
going
one.
to get a copy.
Yeah.
And it's so rare anybody mentions a movie I've actually seen.
It doesn't get mentioned that much anymore. Yeah, it was such a big movie when it came out. It was like the biggest movie in Britain, like when it came out. That was Full Monty.
Yeah, I'm not going to get on Amazon.
So one of my favorite British films is Kinky Boots. I
love
love
that movie.
film. It's
I love that movie.
Good. It's so
Kinky
good.
Boots?
Okay, so
I haven't
basically
seen
the
Kinky Boots.
TLDR, you have this guy that, his father owned a shoe company, like a shoe factory, shoemaker. And he didn't really want to take over the family business, but then his dad dies and he's kind of thrust in it and the business is failing. And then he meets a drag queen who is like, hey, we need shoes that have fucking 9-inch heels, but have strong steel shanks kind of things so that they can support the weight of a full-grown man dancing
And
around.
men's sizes.
And so, yeah, he basically makes these gorgeous designer boots for drag queens, and it's phenomenal.
I'll tell you, I don't know if you've seen it. I'll tell you a British movie that you would love, especially considering all the things we've talked about in recent weeks. That's a film called Pride. It's a 2014 movie. You would love it.
Okay.
And it is set during the 1984, 1985, the coal miners' strike.
Okay.
And this is based on a true story. It starts at the 1984 Gay Pride march in London, and there was a group that started called Lesbians and Gays Support the Miners, and they raised more money for coal miners than any other support group. But it's you obviously got to remember bear in mind obviously the kind of northern working class or Welsh working class coal mining culture when they started having these gay guys gay men and women turn up to their picket lines. It was like, we don't really want these people on our picket lines kind of thing. And it's a great story about how those boundaries got broken down. And then at the 1985 Gay Pride March, it was the National Union of Mine Workers who led the march.
Yeah, that does sound like something that I would like because
Sounds
it
interesting.
combines things that I love. My fellow queers, activism, and workers' rights. No, that does sound right up my alley.
I forget her name. I think her name's Gladys or something. It's just a really lovely old Welsh lady from in the movie or whatever, and she strikes up a bit of a friendship with these lesbian couple. And when she turns up on the march, she's like, "Where are my lesbians? Where are my lesbians?" I don't know why. It's just funny.
And I'm just imagining a grandma with a Welsh lilt, but heavier. Like, oh, but
Yeah.
that is something.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely have a soft spot for a tall, dark, and handsome guy with like
Mm.
that velvety, like, but with that, with a velvety voice, but a Welsh lilt. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like I said,
Slothgurl.
it's a
I
humorous
noticed
take
in
on a
the
true story. So
I noticed on the Disney Plus recently added was one of your favorite movies in there. Not the classic version, but the Steve Martin version of Father of the Bride.
I hated that version.
Oh, I thought you liked that one.
No. Original or nothing.
Okay, I had thought you liked both of them.
Well, I like the Steve Martin version. I love the original version. So, anyways, the other thing we have to stop doing as a society is in regards to people with disabilities, not all disabilities can be seen.
That's
You'd
the
be
way with me.
surprised the dirty looks I get when I'm like tooling around Walmart in one of their mobility scooters because I don't look disabled.
Yeah.
But I've gotten some dirty looks. Like, how
I've
dare
had
you say that
employees
for
fucking
somebody
argue
else?
with me. I think I actually got one guy fired for it because he was like, you don't need this. And I'm like, excuse you, fuck you. And like, I actually had a Karen moment and I called the management over because like this, like, I will let a lot go. And I tend to be very kind to service workers and retail workers and such. But, there are areas where I draw the line, and that is one of them. You don't know my medical diagnosis, and
Yeah, you don't know me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you never tell I was disabled just by looking at me.
Well, when I had
and
my
I
hand in the splint after it got caught in the power saw, I was actually having the thought of it was going to be a relief to have a disability that other people could actually see for once.
yeah.
and
And like
I
I've
would
dealt with this my
call it.
whole life almost. Like I was disabled at 19. I'm in my mid 30s now. I've like my entire adult life I have had to deal with disability and it sucks.
Like I said,
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
I myself personally, I've never looked at myself as disabled, but obviously now because with the thing I have, they actually send psychologists with it, and they tell you the road you're facing and that, and basically now I have to face it. I'm going to be disabled forever. Can't walk. I can walk
Join
a
the
little
fucking
bit.
club. Like, hey, you know what?
Mm.
We've got our own little cripple club and it's a good thing,
Yeah,
like there are many sides to disability. There are many faces of disability, and finding community
absolutely.
with other disabled people and
Yeah.
advocating for better treatment because our society is incredibly ableist. It is not handicap accessible, like maybe by the letter of the law, yes, but in practice, no.
And raising awareness of not every disability is visible.
But as Slothgurl said, there's a lot of people who are disabled who you wouldn't think as being disabled, and there's an equality out there that just isn't happening
Mm.
with people.
And especially for me
Yeah.
because I'm a potato. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. So people are always looking at me like, well, if you lose weight, you wouldn't need that scooter.
It's like, no, bitch, that's not how that works. I have
Exactly.
the
Well,
extra pounds because I need the scooter. My lack of mobility is why
Right.
Hey, Ox.
well, I have a similar thing with a friend of mine, who people think he's blagging because he doesn't look disabled. And the thing is, he's got a massive issue with the way his tendons are shorted out, whatever. Um, and as he'll tell you himself, he says yes. He said he could do anything a 100% able-bodied person can do. The difference is he can only do it for about 10 or 15 minutes before he's in agony.
Yeah, there are times where I can do things just
I'm
fine.
there.
Other times I cannot do it all.
Well, that's like me. They consider that I'm 60% disabled. So they're figuring that I could work a normal job for maybe like 15 hours a week. I couldn't do 40 hours a week.
Yeah, there's no way I can tell you when I'd be good and when I'd be bad.
Well,
Same thing with me.
on a non-suppository, I need suppositories to go to the toilet now. And I have a catheter in anyway, so on a non-suppository day, I go for a little walk. So I can walk about 20 feet, but my legs can't take my weight. They're very weak, and the rest I'm getting shoved into a wheelchair now. It's just to show me that this is my full independence. I'll
Hi,
be
Granny.
wheeling myself around the wheelchair. Well, I'm
Yep.
okay with that.
Granny.
Hey,
Hey,
Gigi.
Hi,
Granny.
Granny. Hi, Granny. Yeah, there's no point in crying over the spilled milk. It's it's just I do think people are selfish who take their own lives because you get one chance at it. There is no big solution afterwards.
No, it seems
Only
like
I
lots of-
don't like. I actually will offer pushback on that one. Like, and I will argue with that just because when it comes down to it, like, I don't think anybody has a right to call someone selfish for taking their own life. You don't know what they're personally going through. And I believe in full bodily autonomy, meaning if you
Yeah.
want to end yourself,
Thank you.
that is your right to do. And I would never call someone selfish or cowardly for doing that, but that's just me. Like
I wouldn't call someone cowardly. I'd call them very brave.
well, you said selfish, and some people
Yeah,
say it's cowardly, some will say selfish. I said I would call it neither.
Yeah, but it's irrelevant the mental health side of it. It is a very selfish act. It's not considering
It,
anyone around them, but it's the other people around them.
Okay,
Also-
hold on. Hold on.
I'm kind of with Kitty on this, I've got to say. So
Okay, so when I was 16, my dad has dealt with chronic pain since before I was even born. He's had 2 botched back surgeries and he's miserable, but he still pushed through it to try to provide for his family. When I was 16, he came to me and said, "Look, I don't know how much longer I can deal with this pain. I want you to look after your mom and your sisters if I decide I'm done with it all." And I walked away from the conversation thinking he was incredibly selfish. But fast forward a few years, and having dealt with chronic pain myself and knowing how debilitating it is and how exhausting it is, I was the selfish one. Just because
Kitty.
I don't want to mourn my father, I want to condemn him to suffering more.
No, Kitty, I need to evaluate what I said here. I don't mean people with these end of life situations who are in chronic pain forever and they go to these clinics. Of course, they're not selfish. They're doing things that's not so. I want about these people who jump in front of a train because their bang fell through and things like that. Them sort of people I find
you're
selfish.
talking about with the depression, where it's just a momentary thing, and might be able to
I'm
work
not talking
through it
about
with.
disability and lifelong pain and anything like that. Of course, that's not a selfish act. Of course not. That's
That's just
But
one case.
depression can be a lifelong disability
that's
too.
probably using a
And-
lot of
Well,
pressure
yeah,
for
it can,
everyone.
but
And I'm with
still,
Slothgurl. Even if it is not a physical pain, emotional pain can be absolutely devastating too. And
Absolutely, yeah.
I will never qualify someone's suicide as selfish because they are suffering. Anybody who takes their own life is suffering in one way or another. And like this is coming from somebody who I have had people commit suicide in my family. And I would never ever call that act
Me
selfish.
too.
It is one of the reasons that I think that religion can be very dangerous, because people who are convinced that they will be going on to a better life,
yeah.
I
In
think, are
fact,
more likely to take that as an out.
yeah. In fact, I'm actually a good person to speak on this. I have chronic depression. I have had suicidal thoughts. I have not acted on them. I know how to control that. But even though I'm controlling it, I still get the thoughts sometimes. You still get those feelings sometimes. And when I had a religious view on things, I was seeing that as something to look forward to.
Yeah.
That was
I
a
attempted
dangerous.
it
That was
twice when I was a teenager.
that was a dangerous mindset for me to be in.
Yep. I
Not without.
attempted it twice when I was a teenager. Once I got rid of the whole idea of the Bible and heaven and hell, I never felt that I was going to try it again.
Yeah. Once I became an atheist and all that, I've actually been in a better mindset dealing with that kind of all that.
And now that I'm in the situation I'm in, Purple and I have had that discussion of if get to a point where I can't take it anymore, I just want to be done. Would she help me? I don't consider that selfish. I actually consider that better for Purple because she doesn't have to just watch me die.
Yeah. No,
Mm.
I have a
I
hard
believe in a
time
right
with
to end
that.
life.
Yeah, don't
I
be
don't
doing
have
it
a
for me.
I don't have a mental problem with it. I don't think it's wrong. But I think I would have a very hard time living with myself afterward if I participated.
I don't actually mean physically help me, but just
okay.
sit with me until I go.
Okay, that I could do.
I mean, I'll
that
do it to myself, but will she sit there and hold my hand until
Because
I'm
nobody
gone?
wants to die alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that to Purple, to have her come up here one day and find me dead because I killed myself.
One of the things I do to help me get my mindset out of that is I'll tell myself there might be some time in the future. There might be some time in the future that somebody might need me to help them, and I'm not going to be there if I do this.
But Mage, I don't have any time in the future.
Well, I obviously need to rephrase and rethink my position on this. Where
Well, that's cool. Dog, that's cool that you've taken that criticism on board, though, mate, and like thinking, okay, I may need to.
yeah, but at the end of the day, Jeff,
again.
I've had a good
Yeah.
friend who had a good network of people. He wasn't ill. There was nothing like that.
I
Yeah.
think
Didn't
my
tell
mom.
anyone. He just left us all in a devastating way.
Yeah.
The
And
future might just
to
be
this
even
day,
the
we're all
next
still
day.
devastated, and this is years later.
Yeah. I get that,
And
but I mean, I just think
I
that's
find
cool that you. Yeah, I just think it's cool that you've kind of listened to some of the criticism of what you said and whatever. And you're like, okay,
Well,
well,
yeah,
maybe there's
yeah,
some valid points here, and I need, and
Well,
so unfortunately, not enough people do that. We don't often. A lot of the time, we don't often do that. That we don't think, oh, okay, we might have some. We might be wrong about this, and we need to rethink this. So, hats off to you, mate.
yeah,
Agreed.
well,
I mean,
Exactly.
you're
Pretty much
entitled to your opinion. I was just going to offer pushback
Yeah.
because, like, I do feel strongly about this particular topic.
yeah.
a lot of
I
times
mean,
I've kept going just because, reasoning it out that if you're alive, you may still have options. Once
For
you make
me,
that final decision, yeah, you're out of options then.
And you never know
You
how
don't
you're
have
helping
any more
people.
choices.
I mean,
Well,
like,
well, this is it, isn't it? It's acceptance. It's a support network.
mhm.
It's social and governmental support for disabilities and things like that that help these people. That they are people at the end of the day. I mean, if you're a brain in a jar, that's a different story, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, and you never know how you're helping people too, because like I was in a game chat. I just told a joke in a game chat once, and then like several months
treating
later,
everyone as equal is a way, mate. To be
and
fair.
and so several months later, there's this person from the chat that replies back to me saying, "Oh, you helped me out when you told that joke. Like I was in a bad position that got me out of it." So you never know what you
Yeah.
could do that actually could help somebody.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like, I actually did attempt suicide when I was in my teen years. Like, it was around the time of like my disabilities starting, and I had recent sexual trauma, and like I went through that. But then honestly, even though the condition that I have is nicknamed the suicide disease because so many people with it do end up killing themselves to just escape the pain, I decided that I was going to live for sheer spite because I was not going to let my enemies outlive me.
Yeah.
And then I had my child, and now I live for him. Now, like, if he were not in this world, I probably would not be either anymore. Like, I'll be honest, but as long as I have my guiding light over here, like, he can't get rid of me. Yeah, no, I can be a spiteful bitch.
Well, I'm quite glad
No,
you're
no
here.
one wants to the UK ever. We all love you too much. Jeff Breeze, on the other hand, well, you know, take it or leave it.
He's an old salt.
Pinch of salt with Jeff. I'm joking.
I'm
Jeff
a
knows it.
wanker, I admit it.
You
Well,
bleed blood.
I'm proudly admit I'm a wanker.
And Purple here has
Oh,
helped
I-
me out quite a bit too. I mean, I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't even be on here right now if it wasn't for her.
Actually, it was a thing when my fiance died that at her memorial, you know, everybody was sharing stories, and yeah, there were about 5 people in that room who wouldn't have been there if she hadn't been there at the right time for them. So, you know, you never know how many people's lives you really touch, or, you know, even someone that you felt you only knew in passing. If you just happened to be there at the right time, you could have made all the difference.
Yeah.
And that's why I do all my charity work. If I can make a difference to one person, give one baby a blanket and keep them warm so that they won't die in the cold.
And those things can have ripple effects too.
Exactly.
My goal in life.
I'm the stone in the pond, and hopefully it'll ripple out from there.
Yeah, no, I mean, Slothgirl, you and I seem to have a similar goal. My goal is to leave the world just a little bit better than it was when I entered it. That's it. That's it. It is a totally attainable goal for everybody. Just try to do good where you can, help where you can, and
be kind.
That's it. And be kind. Don't be a dick. That is my number one rule. Don't be a dick.
My mama always told me that I could be anything I wanted. The biggest thing is I can be kind.
Well,
it doesn't
you know,
cost me anything to be kind.
That is also a big thing of the Christmas Day Marathon that I do every year.
Yep.
The reason that became an annual event was the first year I was doing it just because pretty much I was stuck home alone and nowhere to go. But after we did that first one, I got private emails from 2 people who said that they probably wouldn't have lived through the holiday if they didn't have some place that they could have gone to talk to people that night.
Yeah, it's been helpful.
Loneliness sucks.
Yes.
We are
I
social
agree.
creatures. We are not meant to be alone. And that is one of the beauties of the internet, I think. The internet has a lot of flaws and a lot of faults, especially social media.
A lot of assholes.
But
Yeah.
one thing I will say, though, is it does allow us to come together, and we can socialize with people all over the world. And, you know, you can have, like, I've got friends in Canada. So when I'm reading, oh, they've got, you know, death panels in Canada for their healthcare, I can just be like, hey, yeah, so you got death panels? Nah, it's just bullshit. Okay, cool. Same thing for people in the UK or people in Europe. I have friends on pretty much every continent but Antarctica, and that I can talk to and ask and learn. And I think that that's why you're seeing so many young people advocating for more like social democratic policies and advocating for things like universal health care and, you know, higher minimum wage, more social safety net programs, because they have them in other countries. And the younger people of America are starting to see just how screwed Americans are in that regard. And so they're saying, no, other countries aren't the best country in the world, the wealthiest country in the world. Why is it that they can do better by their citizens than you guys can do by us? And I think that's why you're seeing such a wave of more, you know, leftist people in the youth.
Well, I think that they're also seeing that a lot of the rhetoric that's thrown at those things just isn't true. You know, the doomsayers who say, you know, that's socialist, that'll be the downfall of society. And we can look at, you know, that, yeah, they're already doing that in Canada or Australia or some other country. and their economy's still doing okay. It's not going to destroy us if we help people out a little.
It came out in the news the other day that life expectancy in this country has declined again. And, life expectancy in the United States used to be the best in the world. And now, we are dropping dramatically. And it's because there's too many people in this country that don't have access to health care.
Life expectancy peaked in the
45,000
80s.
people a year die in the United States because they don't have access to health care. And that's just the ones that we know of for sure.
For affordable
Yeah,
health care, anyway.
I think for all the kind of like issues or whatever, we can have as a sort of an online community. I mean, in a lot of ways, I mean, especially what you do at Christmas, perhaps, especially the last 2 years with the whole when we were going through lockdowns. I think it even took on even more of a significance
Oh
then.
yeah.
To people to be able to connect with other people at
Well,
that
yeah,
time of the
definitely.
year.
When people couldn't travel
And
for the holidays, that they'd have
yeah,
traditions of seeing people out of state, and when they weren't able to do that, it definitely
yeah.
had a much bigger impact on a lot more people.
But I think the whole thing is I started the first YouTube video I uploaded was in 2017. I don't think I ever got onto a hangout or anything with anyone until like 2019. It was a good 2 or 3 years or whatever before I actually was legitimately in rooms talking to people. And I think it's become I think on the whole it's been a very valuable kind of learning experience because I think we're coming together and having these conversations. We can all kind of learn from each other's kind of struggles and stuff. I think that's a really positive thing.
Absolutely,
For all
Jeff.
for all the issues that we can have at times, where in these online communities, there's an awful lot of good that can be said about it as well. And I think on the balance, I think it's a good thing.
I do
Yeah.
know for me, going on these live streams has been helpful to me psychologically. Because
Yeah.
I was just having like panic attacks going home from the grocery store every day. I noticed I'm not getting that anymore since I've started doing this.
Cool.
Well,
That's
and I've said several
fantastic.
times before, the 5 years that I was stuck in Michigan, I probably would have become an alcoholic if I didn't, have people on here to talk to, because I certainly had nothing in common with anyone else who lived in that town.
To be fair, if it wasn't for you guys, I would have gone insane. Because obviously, when I had my stroke, I knew I would make a full recovery from that. But now I'm permanently disabled. That's a blow to the head I don't need. But if it wasn't for you guys, I think I would have lost the plot. I really do. But I'm going to thank you all anyway, because Anox is right. Without YouTube and without knowing you guys and getting to know you, and I know I support you. It's only a peanut here, a few pennies there, but I know every little helps, and it does. But it helps you guys keep it up and keep me sane anyway. And I thank you, the lot of you. Granny, Slothgurl, all of you, Peps, Kitty, Mage, and Jeff as well. He was the first guy who got me into, supporting these channels because I enjoyed what Jeff was dishing out. He was sort of straight to the point and honest. Blunt.
Doug, I only knew you via, sadly, guy who's no longer with us anymore. I only knew you through Hopswatch, really. That's how I met you, and sadly, we lost him a month or two ago. That one, I still, I meant to do organize a tribute stream for that guy actually, but
well, I did mention it to you on Twitter, didn't I?
Things just been obviously a bit hectic for me, and I still think probably we need to do something like that, just have a little memorial for that guy.
It'd be nice to remember.
He was one of my first friends in this community, and he's one wonderful guy, and he's a real loss to our community. No two ways about it.
Absolutely, and I think anyone but it's nice that we have each other. I could it's our own personal support network. I know a lot of us talk bollocks half the time, a load of shit, but it's always fun, isn't it?
Yeah,
We always have a laugh, and
indeed.
it cheers me up to listen to you lot all the time. And the chat is just as good. It's just as funny. It depends what stream you're on. Some of it is a lot more tongue in cheek. Some of it is very serious. But we always end up talking about most of these live streams we go on. Always ends up talking a load of shite anyway, isn't it? And that's the fun about it. It's just about having a laugh and it, keeping each other sane. I see. That's how I see it anyway. That's my take from my friends I've made from this community, which is growing. Thankfully, it's growing. My God, and it's a good thing it's growing. Because otherwise, everyone would go insane, especially what's going on in the world at the moment. It's just a load of old shit. But as I say, we all have our hurdles to face. At the moment, I'm at an impasse, and I'm at a wall I don't think I can climb mentally. And I'm counting on you guys to keep me smiling and laughing with your nonsense, your jokes, and your humour, and that's what I'm counting on. Because otherwise, I would just fall. I know I would break down. It's not so much the wheelchair I'm looking forward to; it's the incontinence I can't deal with.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have a wheelchair. I don't have to use it often, but it does happen from time to time, and it can be frustrating, and it does kind of suck, but I mean, when it comes down to it, like it is not the end of the world, and you're resilient. Like you will find a way regardless to make it work.
Well, absolutely. It's what we say about about hell. Like we talk about hell. Hell would be boring after 6 months. After 6 months of getting your eyeball pulled out through your kneecap.
Oh boy, here comes another pile up
Oh boy.
my ass.
Oh boy.
There you go. Good to that.
I am going
You
to
get another one.
I am going to invoke the famous American comedian Bill Hicks here. That if there is such a thing as heaven and hell or whatever, and as the Christians say it is, so if it's a choice between eternal hell and good music and eternal heaven and new kids on the block, I'm surfing that fucking lake of fire.
Yeah, no,
So,
like if
why not?
God is real and hell is real, I would rather burn in it than worship the monster that created it. I will die on that hill.
I've said I know I could
Sure.
tolerate eternal torture better than I could tolerate eternal boredom.
Yeah, you
Well,
go
I
to
think
heaven, they'll be playing
I
God
think
Bless
hell
Dead
would
on
be a bit
repeat.
more fun. It can't be no different than the torture on earth that a lot of us have endured anyway, can it? Can't be more.
I'm not being funny. I to be honest, like the whole Christian idea of heaven or whatever, where we spend for all eternity on our knees kissing this insane dictator's ass, is more of an idea of hell to me than anything else.
Yes.
That's basically my approach for pain management. Is when something's really hurting, I'm like, this didn't kill me last time, so shut up and let's get done what we've got to do.
I've made that mistake though there are some body movements that you would think they are so slight and so small they shouldn't be an issue. Like if I walk holding my husband's hand and he pulls my arm like 2 inches in front of me, I'm in pain fairly quickly. I've got to have my arm straight at my side or behind me. I can't put my arm in front of me. I know it's really weird, but that's the way it is. And so the first couple times it happened, I just told myself, shut up. It's not that bad. It can't hurt that much just to move your arm that little bit. Until finally I realized, yes, it does. I can't have my arm in front of me.
Yeah, I get that.
Education is what is needed worldwide. about people who need support, need help, who suffer these debilitating pains and injuries, and it's just the way people are, and people are unaware of that. But you can't go. No one wants to go around wearing a sign saying, I'm a spastic.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Take care of
Yeah.
me. Nobody wants to do that because there's a little bit of pride and humility with the individual as well. I find, especially with me, I cry a lot. I don't like being sat in a bedpan and having to crap in front of these people. I hate being in hospital. I hate having my life open like this to people. I've always been quite
Yeah,
private,
well, having to
and
always
especially
wait on
things like
someone else to do the basic things.
Hmm.
especially
Yeah.
things like toilets and things like that. They're the most personal, private things you can deal with. But when when you're having to do these things in front of people, it's
And
not a nice
Dog, I'll
place
give
to be.
you. I'm going to say it's actually very brave of you to come on a live stream and even talk about that, to be honest, Dog. So
Yeah, I
because
wear nappies.
I don't. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not being funny. I don't know that. I don't know if I could do that if I was in your position. So I mean, I'm just saying. I think you're very brave to come on and talk about that.
Yeah, I don't think I
Yeah.
could be that open about it either.
Well, I had a thing that's called cauda equina syndrome. It's a compression of the spine. I had part of my spine removed in an emergency 2 weeks ago. Tomorrow it will be, so 13 days ago. It's taken the intense pain away I was in, but it has not given me back any of the feeling. So my whole pelvis is normal. I've got no pelvic floor. I had to be recatheterized because I can't feel when my bladder's full, and I had nearly almost 2 liters when I had a bladder scan, almost 2 liters of liquids, which was damaging my bladder, and the same with my bowels. I can't feel anything, so the recatheterized looks like it's going to be forever. Well, no, I've got to see a urologist and figure out something to do myself. Um, the backwards bit, because I had a stone not so long ago with stroke, because I was put in an induced coma. I said, well, I'm not ashamed of my medical history, but this I'm sort of ashamed that I'm facing a lifelong disability now. If I can stand, I can walk
You
once I'm
shouldn't be.
helped.
You shouldn't be ashamed of it, though, mate. You shouldn't be ashamed.
Yeah, once I'm held to my feet, if I lock my legs, I can walk, hobble with a frame
Yeah.
15 meters. But my legs need to be locked because my legs have not got will never have the strength to hold me up. That's so if I can get to a standing position, I'm laughing. But
Yeah.
being able to push myself up with straight legs, you can't do it unless it was from a height, and I can't be walking around with adjustable things. I would like to get to a point where I could stand up, and then I can
Yeah.
live on the toilet. To be fair,
I think at the end of the day, I don't think anybody should be ashamed about things that they can't help. That
Yeah.
I mean, it obviously within certain I mean, yes, there could be caveats to that statement or whatever if people really want to get technical, but I think most people understand what I mean by that.
well,
You
the only
you
reason.
can't be ashamed. You can't be ashamed over things you have no control over.
Thank you.
You shouldn't
The
be.
only reason I'm saying this is to make people aware that it's although the most personal, embarrassing things that you do in your own personal time is there's nothing to be ashamed of. It shouldn't be anything
Yeah.
to be ashamed of. Even though I am slightly, my dignity is out the window. I've lost all of that, and at the end of the day, you've got to get used to that. And this is it's the awareness. And some people are going through that, and they're going through it now. People who can walk may be incontinent. I'll never have sex again. because my penis is numb forever. You know, these are just things I have to face.
Dude.
But people
Yeah,
are like,
I don't. I'm trying to think. I don't know quite how to sort of say this, but don't equate those sort. I don't know quite how to say this. Really, but try not to equate those things with your sense of dignity, if possible. You know,
yeah, obviously this will differ from the individual, Jeff.
Yeah.
and I understand it because you're in a thing where there's certain things where there are sort of social just because of the way our society is or whatever, where there are social norms and whatever.
Well, our society is in crisis at the moment. You know
yeah,
that.
but I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think how to phrase this as best as I can, actually. But it's but like I said, you shouldn't feel like a lack of dignity or shame over things you have no control over and are not your fault. Because it doesn't say anything about you as a human being. So you should kind of just feel since Prince of pride and
Absolutely,
dignity
no,
is who you are as a
correct.
human being. But I mean, I know what you say. It's easier said than done. It's easier said than done, and I know that. But
It's weird all the things our society teaches us to be ashamed of.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think me exposing myself might make other people, aware that there's people that are like that, and you can't ignore the fact that there are people that have gone through certain disabilities and things in their life that they can't control, yet they're still ridiculed for it. Kids are the worst. Kids are the worst at that. Taking the
well, you say kids can be the most cruel or whatever, but
they're also the most accepting.
Kids. So you got to remember that when young people can be very cruel when they haven't sort of understood, got to that point where they developed and understood kind of the effects of things. But
thank you, Doc.
You can't put that all, but you can't necessarily put all of that on kids. This is a kind of a very deep societal problem because it's a very deep thing. It's a very deep thing to get into. It's a really deep thing to get into. But
well, when I'm sent to psychologists to basically explain what I'm facing, then that's when it gets real for me. But I've still got like the 5 stages of grief to go through. I haven't got to the angry bit yet. I'm sure I will.
Yeah.
But, at the moment, I'm still trying to just get my head around it. But there's a lot of other people. I'm not the only person. I'm not the only person in this room, in this ward. I'm on a spinal injury ward.
Those 5 stages of grief don't happen in one order. They can double back on themselves too. So just keep in mind that.
Yeah. They don't affect everyone in the same sequence.
Absolutely, they're not. Everyone. No 2 injuries are the same. Of course, they're not. But I'm not sort of thinking of myself at the moment. I'm thinking of everyone in the same boat as me. That's the way I get through. Listening to you lot and enjoying the company, enjoying listening to streams and catching up on streams. I've been working a lot and catching up on a lot of my own work. Well, from when I was gone for 2 years anyway. I've sort of caught up with my work, and then this shit happens. But I'm kept sane by what's going on around me, about thinking of others rather than me. Obviously, it is a bit humiliating, the position I'm in and the things that I have to do. I know, I'm reassured by these girls, wiping my backside and that, like, we don't care, we see it all the time. I'm sure it is like that. But in my mind, you know, I wouldn't do that in front of the wife.
Which again,
I'm doing it in front of strangers.
Yeah, which again, but then it goes back to what I said earlier. That, dude, I think you're, you know, as you know, because of the taboos and whatever, or things that are in society. Honestly, I think you're showing a lot of honestly showing a lot of courage to be sharing this stuff, dog. Honestly, so
Well, I think people need to be aware of it.
yeah.
Well, there are people like that. Then people like that maybe can walk, but they are incontinent. You may smell them in the pub. We've all done it, and you think, oh, he's farting. Then one guy will disappear, and he'll come back, and you know he may have just lost his bowels for no reason
you
at
don't
all.
know. You don't know. You don't know, do you? You don't know, do you? You don't know.
Well, people, you know, I know Britain's famous for taking the piss out of each other, and we're very sarcastic with each other, and we're fun like that. A lot of the world don't get us, Jeff. I get that. But we, you know, when we take,
I don't get most of the people in this country, dog. So you know.
Well, this is it. But that's just
Yeah, I don't get people in general.
We're dealt cards that we just need to we need to accept them. You can either gamble and throw yourself into it, or you can bust and opt out and just give up.
Yeah, well,
I'm not
you've got to play the hand you're dealt and make the best you can of it.
Got to play it, man. That's how you do it. You play the hand you're dealt and go all in, or go bust and fold. I'm not going to fold just yet. I don't think. Although at the moment I want to, I'm not going to. I'm sort of kept saying by, as I say, listen to you guys on the YouTube and catching up on old videos I've missed out on, and well, you always make me laugh. Well, you find these ridiculous days, you know, fingernail day. It's fingernail cutting day today. International awareness of the comb and things like that. I don't know where you find.
Well, Granny, you were mentioning that in your last stream, that sometimes you just go and look for a reason to celebrate something.
Yep.
But you can always find some ridiculous thing.
Yep. I also like finding, different food days, and to have a particular food on a particular food day. Of course, we always have to have pie on March 14th, Pie Day.
Yep.
Well, March 14th is my kid's birthday. My twin's birthday, March 14th.
Oh, cool.
Well, that's American Pie Day.
Well, you got to have pie because the cake is a lie.
That's right.
That's right.
March 14th is American Pie Day. You guys aren't allowed to celebrate it because you make fun of how we write the dates all the time.
Well, we don't really call them pies. We call them cakes here.
Yep. And then we also get American Pie Day on July 22nd. Because 7/22 is the closest fractional equivalent to pi.
Okay. I just realized I didn't even do the stream I normally do this past year. I always used to do something on the 1st of May, International Workers' Day. That's something I've always, and I didn't do it this year. I just kind of realised, but that was something I always would do a stream or something on that day, on May Day. So,
May Day is also traditionally a day people are supposed to dance around a maypole, and I saw somebody post on Twitter on May 1st. It's May 1st. Guess what I'm not doing today? And I said, dancing around a maypole.
Generally, it's in the old pagan ceremony of Beltane. So
yeah, that's when I was in the pagan community. May Day was always a big event.
The big men dancing with bells wrapped around their legs.
You would have loved that. That back in your pagan days, Purple. There's an actual place in the county I live in Hampshire. Place called Butser, and every Beltane they have like a big festival there with like live music and it culminates in the big torching of the Wicker Man. You'd love that in your pagan days.
I told I told Purple when I die, that's what I want, because I want them to have a bonfire. And I said, make an effigy and throw me on the fire. Dance around and sing, "Ding dong, the witch is dead."
Yeah, can you make me stick me in a jiffy jar and leave me out in the trash?
Look, I'm an atheist, but I would so be up for a blooming Viking funeral for me. Just put me out in the boat and set it on fire.
Here in the state of Maine, it is legal to do that now.
Oh, really? That's
Yes,
interesting.
you can give people Viking funerals in Maine.
I don't see why not.
See, I want a Viking funeral, but I want to be laid down on a bed of roses dusted with thermite so that like you really get it. But then I want my ashes scooped up and turned into a gem.
I like the idea of being fertilizer.
Well, this hospital where I am is a teaching hospital, so when I go, my body's going here. I'm going to be turned into sushi by the medical students.
Yeah, I'm doing that too. I want my body donated to science.
Yeah, I want to specifically find some place that's doing research on autism and donate my brain there so that if they can learn something about autism by dissecting my brain, go for it.
See the one religion I'm actually ordained in is Dudism, but I don't really want to have like Donnie's. I don't really want Donnie's funeral from
No, but like all the White Russians though, like come on, like all you can drink White Russians and bowling in the afternoon in a house coat. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds right to me.
I'm ordained in sexual humanism.
That's the one Shannon started, wasn't it?
Let's get it on.
Yes. Shannon ordained me the deaconess of doubt.
Yeah, what's the one? Yeah, I think was it Ring is high priest of absurdism or something. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, because I do remember that they did the thing where they gave her like donation to an LGBT charity or something in Answers in Genesis' name.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
So, I am actually going to start doing some gaming streams on Twitch. And I was going to toss the link in the chat, and maybe if anybody has a Twitch, they could follow me. I would appreciate it.
What games are you going to play, Kitty?
Probably, well, I know I'm definitely going to be streaming the new area of Genshin Impact, that just came out. But then I'll also probably do maybe some League of Legends and some Valorant and I don't know, maybe some V Rising. Like there's a few games that I really enjoy playing, and I think it'd be fun to, just do like a laid back, chill stream,
Yeah,
sounds fun. So I used to love playing games. I just don't do a lot of gaming in it. Well, most of the stuff is because most of the games I play are like years out of date now. But
Well, because of Slim living like Cyborg, I've started playing GTA 5 from my hospital bed.
I love Slim. Slim's awesome.
Great. Yeah, he is great.
I don't really do any of the online gaming. I only do like some of the electronic versions of board games.
World of Warcraft as well. I like that one.
I think if I was ever to do gaming streams and could get it set up, I'd like do old Mega Drive or Genesis as it was in the America games. I'd do Sonic the Hedgehog streams or something like that,
Yep. I remember Slothgurl had the original Sega Genesis console.
Speaking of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Well, you sewing that onto something, Kitty?
Hold on, let me make you bigger there. Yep.
It's a mask I'm making for my son.
Oh, Sonic Tails, Knuckles, yeah, that's awesome.
Yep, and the golden ring.
Awesome.
You mentioned it, and I happened to have it right here. I was working on it. I was just trying to stretch my back out a bit.
Well, that was not even planned either, folks. Just for those of you watching, that was not even planned.
Yeah, well, you sure you two guys haven't set up for a Twitch channel?
No.
I might even do some sewing streams on Twitch too, because I've got a keyboard and a mouse here, so I could be working. I could like move my camera and like zoom it in, and so I don't know. I don't know what I know I'm definitely going to stream Genshin because I signed up for something, because the new area, the new like expansion area, whatever, just came out, and if you register and then stream X number of hours of the game, you get like some of the in-game currency. And so like it's free. There's no like minimum like size of your channel. It's just if you register and you do the streaming during the time period of at least 6 hours, then you get the rewards. And I was like, I can do that, and it gives me an incentive to actually start streaming.
If I ever get around to streaming, I'll have to bring you on so you can make a grow bag on live.
Definitely. Like you let me know what dimensions you want and I'll make it.
Well, it's been wonderful chatting with all of you and being with all of you, but I need to get back to work.
Well,
So
okay,
Good
Granny.
to see you, Granny.
All right.
Love
You
you,
want to
GG.
Bye,
plug your
Granny.
show for next
Have me
week
on.
before you go?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
You want to plug whatever you have coming up before you go?
Sure. I'm working on a produced video that will come out sometime Saturday morning or early. Well, actually, let's see. I'm going to be I've got to go to Auburn on Saturday, so I'll release this one without premiering it. So I'll probably release it around noon on Saturday. And it's going to be on taking down some of the theology of Sproul and Piper and why that's important to the community as a whole. And then next Tuesday, I'm doing a fundraiser for Purple. Kitty's going to be there, and Jenny Morgan's going to be there, and we're going to do a fundraising for Purple's car.
Yes, because we need to get her some new wheels just for her well-being, but also for Slothgurl, because with chemo and the winters coming up, and winters get brutal where those girls live. So, Slothgurl can't be getting cold, waiting on buses
Well,
back and forth from
Slothgurl
chemo.
can't take the buses as it is because she can't walk far enough for the buses to work.
That too.
Because it's always like a quarter to half a mile between where the bus drops you off and where you need to be.
Okay. So thanks, guys.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye, Granny. Just following the
so-
link to Kitty's
I've
Twitch.
managed on the buses through the summer, but yeah, in the winter, it's a whole different story. Because, just with the buses only running once an hour, I can't imagine having to stand out there for a half an hour when it does get to be 40 below here sometimes.
That would suck.
Yeah.
Well, I'm now following Kitty on Twitch, so
Oh, thank you.
that's all fun, isn't it? I've got a lot of time on my hands at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know how some of these people are constantly on all these channels and they know everything about everyone else's channel. I don't know where they find the time from, to be fair. It's hard
Actually,
work, but,
Ox, that's one of the things that Slothgirl would really like before she goes is for somebody who's got a good size highway bike to take her for another run. It's something that she used to do years ago, but
I suppose
So
biking is quite cool, isn't it?
yeah. So if there's anybody in Minnesota who'd be, just willing to take her for a good ride for a few hours. But yeah, we've been going a little over 2 hours here. So yeah, why don't we go around and wrap it up here? Dog,
But here in the UK,
final
we have a
words?
lot of charity rides. The London to Jeff will probably know the full name. The London to the East Coast is a yearly thing where they ride. There's tens of thousands of bikers ride from
London to
London to
Brighton.
the East Coast. London
Is that
Brighton.
the Brighton? Yeah.
London
I've
to
done that.
Brighton, yeah.
I've done that one, the Rockers Reunion thing, but they tend to do a bit of charity work for that.
Yeah.
It's the because I was there last time I did it. It was they had some people over from America. You know, the Tuttles, some American chopper that they led the ride last time I went on it.
Yeah. Well, there's many others as well around the country that bike rides, and I know America have them as well.
Well, I was on a few of the. We used to do. There's a school down in Portsmouth, which was like for like handicapped children and so on. And we used to do like Christmas toy runs for them, so on.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, let's.
Yeah,
continue
I
with
used to
that.
remember seeing. I used to have a sailboat down in Fareham in Portsmouth.
Oh yeah, I know.
Fairham's
about 5 miles away from where I live.
Let's continue with the wrap ups here. Slothgurl, have you got any final words you want to say before we shut this down? I know she was saying she was stuck on hold there. Okay. Jeff, you have any last words?
Not really. I got nothing really to plug at the moment, except if you are. The only thing I'd just say is if you're in the United Kingdom right now, support your postal workers and anyone else who's striking at the moment.
Yeah. The post office
Solidarity.
really keeps society together.
Mm.
Okay, Kitty, you have anything you want to plug?
Like I said, I'll be there Tuesday for the fundraiser stream for you. And I might see about like maybe getting together where I'll make a list of a couple of different items, and like if people donate, like I can then make the item and send that to them. I'll figure that out and work it out with you later. Other than that, if you have a Twitch, go subscribe or follow me, I should say, on Twitch, because I'm trying to get a few followers before I get started, and I will be streaming on there very soon. Within the next few days, I'll probably do my first stream, which I'm super excited about. Other than that, if you're not following me on TikTok, do that. TikTok, Kitty the Atheist. Pretty sure Purple has it in her links down below. And yeah, other than that, no, like I'll pop around. I'll probably be around for Diana's thing, and then I will see everybody tomorrow for Purple stream. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, Kitty, I don't think I have your Twitch link yet, but I've got
Yeah,
the
I
rest of your
just
links in the description.
because I just put it in the private chat because I hadn't done anything with it yet. So now I'm actually gonna start doing something with it. But it's in the private chat in StreamYards.
Okay.
I was trying to make it easy for you.
I'll apologise in advance. I won't be on your late stream tomorrow, Purple, because it's about that time I'm going to be starting picketing. So I'm getting up very early in the morning, my time for that.
Yeah.
I've got to be there for 4 a.m. in the morning. So, just joke. I'm actually going up and picketing earlier than I would go to work.
Okay, Mage.
Oh, I have my channel for gardening. Gardens Happen. My last video was really just kind of going over some of my garden memories, just things I remember from the past in gardening. There's my channel on the side, and also would like to remind everybody about Purple's fundraiser. I'll put the link for that in the side chat as well. So you can go check out that. Go donate to that if you can. And
yeah, I saw that while we've been on, Skitscrasher made a donation. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I haven't gotten too many views on my last video on my garden channel, so if you guys haven't seen it, go check it out.
Yeah. Okay, well. I'll be back here tomorrow night at 10. and be on with the show Saturday at 6. And as Granny and Kitty already said, then Tuesday night, that'll be 7. Those are all Central Time. So,
Put the water bottle on the side of the bed and give you a straw.
you know, appreciate all of you coming by and spending some time with us. And of course, as always, I would like to thank, you know, our moderators here, mostly Robert X and Ox, who always keep things in line in the side chat for me when I can't always be watching it. But also all the Patreon supporters, Skits Crasher and Kitty here, the Lavender Lady, Greg Hartwick, who is always generous on all of these fundraisers, and Dog and Vonrek. You know, appreciate all of you helping me out every month. And with that, we will bid you all a good day. Bye-bye all.
See you later. Bye.